One day, we see a boy named Yosuke who is in high school, and we find out that he's introverted, has no friends, and doesn't like doing anything except playing video games. In the morning, we see Yosuke going to school, bored with people and life in general, and he hears students talking about a girl named Shindo, who is beautiful and excellent both academically and athletically. After the school day ends, Yosuke immediately goes home and starts playing video games, at which he excels, and feels very happy. The next morning, Yosuke returns to school, and after class ends, the teacher assigns him to clean the classroom and lock it afterward. He sees Shindo standing with Kosui inside, and finds it strange they are friends because their personalities are complete opposites. After a while, the teacher approaches Yosuke, asking why he joined athletic activities, and tells him he must care about his studies for his future. Yosuke notices Shindo and Kosui looking at him oddly. After the teacher leaves, Yosuke tells them they can leave so he can lock the room. Suddenly, they disappear before his eyes, and the classroom's atmosphere changes abruptly. Strange drawings appear on the board, and an eerie voice resonates. Then Yosuke himself vanishes from the room. He finds himself falling from an extremely high place into a lake filled with monsters. Terrifying Yosuke, who doesn't understand what's happening or this strange place, he quickly swims, trying to escape from the lake. At this moment, Shindo and Kosui appear, calling out to him, clearly delighted by Yosuke's arrival. He exits the water and asks them what's happening and what this place is. Shindo replies that these questions aren't important now, and a strange person will soon appear, instructing him not to be afraid, and to listen carefully. Yosuke is puzzled and doesn't understand anything, but suddenly a figure indeed appears behind him, welcoming Yosuke. He is shocked upon seeing the man has no head. The man introduces himself as the game master and explains he'll now clarify the rules, as Yosuke is the newest member. Yosuke is confused by this and asks what he's talking about, but Shindo calms him down. The game master starts explaining the rules. They must fulfill the village chief's requests within a set time of 14 days, warning him that this world is full of monsters, always ready to kill him and his friends. Then he shows him an initial mission list: defeat one goal, meet villagers, and fulfill the village chief's request. He explains that each time they complete a mission, a new member joins, until they reach 10 members, enabling them to proceed to the final mission. He tells Yosuke to ask his friends about the rewards they received for completing missions. Then we find out Shindo is a wind mage and Kosui a warrior. At that moment, a spinning wheel appears to determine Yosuke's role in the game. Shindo and Kosui excitedly wish he'll become a warrior, but Yosuke remains confused about why this matters. Unfortunately, Yosuke's role turns out to be a farmer. Shindo and Kosui become disappointed, and the game master says goodbye and disappears. Yosuke yells at the girls, demanding to know what's happening. The girls explain everything. They were summoned here without prior notice. It started with Shindo, who completed the first mission alone, and then returned to her world. Later, the game master ordered her to fulfill another mission. Yosuke is surprised that she received a mission even in their world. Kosui explains that Shindo approached her in their world, requesting her friendship, a request from the game master himself. Shindo re-entered the game again, found Kosui there, and luckily completed the mission safely. Afterward, the game master instructed them to specifically recruit Yosuke, making him the expected third member. As Yosuke and the girls explore the forest, a group of ghouls suddenly appear. Yosuke immediately draws his weapon and rushes to attack, but finds himself extremely weak. Shindo's magic is useless due to its weakness, and Kosui is terrified, unable to wield her sword. Yosuke tries taking Kosui's sword but discovers he can't use anyone's weapons but his own. A ghoul strikes, killing Yosuke, who shortly returns to life. Shindo explains he shouldn't worry about dying because he'll revive after 30 seconds. He angrily asks her why she didn't mention this earlier. Encouraged, Yosuke asks Shindo to help him. Shindo uses wind magic to obscure the ghoul's vision. Yosuke successfully kills one ghoul but gets injured himself. After 30 seconds, Kosui and Shindo praise him for his successful plan. Yosuke asks Shindo what happens if they all die simultaneously, and she replies, "Didn't I tell you? If we all die, we die for real and won't return again." That evening, they sit together in the forest, checking the map to decide their next destination. Shindo suggests heading to the western village. Kosui agrees, hoping the mission won't be difficult. Yosuke checks the weapon inventory, discovering his broken sickle will take 5 days to repair. Yosuke asks Shindo about the reward for completing missions. Shindo tells him the game master answers only one question per member. Upon arriving, she asked why she was chosen. They chose her upon request from someone she knew. Kosui mentions she asked who they were, and he replied they're a group from the future, meaning they essentially know nothing else. Yosuke tells them not to worry, he'll handle guarding tonight. He remains awake, thinking carefully about the question he should ask the game master. Suddenly, a group of ghouls appears, and Yosuke manages to kill them all. Soon after, he hears Shindo anxiously calling. He rushes to them, finding the entire place engulfed in flames, Kosui injured and disappearing. Confused, he notices a giant monster holding Shindo, terrifying him deeply. Shindo urgently tells him to run since they can't defeat it. The monster then kills Shindo right before him. Now, he realizes he's the only survivor. Yosuke understands that if he dies now, it's truly over. He takes Kosui and flees toward the village, calling for Shindo, telling her they'll meet there. They manage to distance themselves from danger. In the morning, Kosui regains consciousness, and Yosuke is shocked to discover Kosui's left arm hasn't regenerated. Kosui suggests it might be because the monster consumed it. Yosuke realizes this means Shindo will never revive. Yosuke understands they must finish the mission alone without Shindo. They head to the village, where villagers happily welcome them as heroes. Yosuke and Kosui visit the village chief to learn his request. He informs them a monster called Troll appeared near the village outskirts. Yosuke is shocked to realize the monster they're meant to defeat is the same one they were fleeing from. Feeling despair, Yosuke asks Kosui if she previously defeated even one ghoul. She says no. Internally, Yosuke believes Kosui is useless and wishes Shindo were still there instead. He asks Kosui to stay in the village while he raises his rank to prepare for the monster. Kosui stops him, insisting she also wants to rescue Shindo. He apologizes, explaining it will be far more dangerous if she comes along. He leaves her behind and departs. Yosuke begins searching the forest for ghouls to raise his level and confront the giant monster, because attacking immediately would mean the beast would eat him, just as it devoured Shindo, and they'd all die. On the way, he finds a magic checkpoint. Once he touches it, he sees a past vision of Shindo asking Kosui whom she'd prefer from the class boys to join them next time. Kosui answers she wants Yamada because he participated in the national judo competition. Shindo says she prefers Yosuke, shocking him as he wonders if she definitely meant another Yosuke. He's eagerly waiting for her to specify exactly which Yosuke, but the connection vanishes at this moment. He feels hopeful that there's at least a 50% chance it was him. Yosuke gets up and continues searching for ghouls, eventually reaching another town. Suddenly, many ghouls surround him, exciting him greatly, so he attacks swiftly and defeats them all. Yosuke checks his status screen, and is surprised to see he reached level 9, nearing level 10. He wonders if there's a way to change his role, wishing not to remain stuck in this role forever. Yosuke then looks at Kosu's screen, and is shocked that she also died, and will return to life after 30 seconds. Yosuke becomes confused, unable to understand what's happening, as she should be safe in the village. He rushes quickly to check the village and finds it entirely engulfed in flames. Afraid they'll fail their mission, he quickly runs toward the village, which is in complete chaos with fire everywhere. He becomes even more surprised when 30 seconds pass, yet Kosui hasn't revived. He realizes the monster must have eaten her too, meaning if he dies, they'll all truly die as well. Yosuke becomes extremely anxious and searches around desperately for any villagers, but finds nothing except another checkpoint. Upon touching it to understand what happened, he sees Kosui secretly training with her sword swings. In reality, she's unfortunately ill, unable to do any physical exercises. Hence, this was her first time swinging something heavy like now. Knowing she's a burden on everyone, she was working hard to help her family and friends. Yosuke also sees Kosui trying to protect everyone from the giant monster. Suddenly, the monster appears again before Yosuke, making him panic, unsure whether to fight or run. While attempting to escape, the monster attacks, sending him flying away. In that moment, Yosuke recalls his old friends and their promise to meet again in the same place after graduating high school. He remembers everyone's hopes and dreams. Quickly regaining consciousness, he finds the monster still chasing him, so he runs fast, trying to lure it into the forest. Yosuke keeps running, avoiding the monster's attacks until he becomes exhausted, thinking desperately of a way to defeat it since escaping is pointless. When Yosuke turns back, he sees the monster about to finish him off. Luckily, he spots a goal ahead, swiftly killing it to reach level 10. He succeeds, and time freezes as the game master appears, congratulating him for reaching level 10. A roll wheel appears, spinning again to decide Yosuke's new role. Unfortunately, he's shocked when his new job turns out to be a chef, yet becomes thrilled upon finding a knife and cleaver in his weapon inventory. He's further surprised when the giant monster's body parts appear before him, clearly due to the new skill he acquired. The game master restores time as it was, and disappears afterward. Yosuke immediately resumes attacking the giant monster, slicing its stomach in half, severely injuring it. To his greater astonishment, Shindo and Kosui both return to life again. Yosuke becomes overjoyed, as Kosui and Shindo thank him for saving them. Yosuke lures the monster again, explaining to the girls his method for defeating it. They continue attacking it all day without success. However, Yosuke notices the monster's wound continues bleeding heavily. Recalling Shindo's magical abilities, Yosuke charges with full power, entering the monster's stomach, striking from within, and repeatedly attacking until the monster is seriously weakened. Finally, Shindo uses her magic as instructed by Yosuke, successfully defeating the monster. The game master appears once more, congratulating them on completing their first mission. Everyone becomes surprised by their rank increases, especially Yosuke's. The game master tells him it's now his turn to ask his question. Yosuke thinks carefully about the question he must ask, recalling everyone else's previous questions. Yosuke asks the game master what will happen after completing the 10th mission. Everyone becomes surprised by Yosuke's question, and the game master says he'll now show them a scene of their world's future. The friends become shocked when they discover they are the heroes who will save their real world from future destruction, with Yosuke as their leader. Upon regaining consciousness, they find themselves in the classroom, with time exactly as it was before being transported to the game world. Shindo bids farewell, and everyone walks home. On his way, Yosuke keeps reflecting on everything that happened today. Kosui approaches him, thanking him for saving them, and mentioning they'd surely have died without him. In the evening, we see Yosuke running down the street to train, striving harder so he'll be ready for the confrontations they'll face in the future. He's even more anxious because he'll be leading the team in those battles, as he saw in the future. At that moment, the game master calls Yosuke's phone. Yosuke is shocked at how he's contacting him while in another world. He assigns him a new mission, becoming friends with a new girl. Following the game master's orders, Yosuke sneaks into the school at night, asking him what else to do. The game master explains that the success of this mission will also influence their next mission in the game. Yosuke continues advancing according to the master's instructions, eventually reaching a room with the lights on. He's shocked when he realizes it's the girls' restroom. Inside, Yosuke sees a group of girls bullying the girl the game master asked him to befriend. He quickly runs toward the bully, grabs her phone, and crushes it in his hand. He then swiftly moves toward the other girls, takes their phones too, and breaks them all. After Yosuke saves her, the bullies run away, leaving the new girl terrified of him, asking why he was in the girls' restroom. She's frightened, being alone with him, finding him extremely suspicious. On their way home, Yosuke asks her why they bullied her. She replies that they weren't bullying but rather taking revenge. She thanks him afterward, says goodbye, and heads home. The following day, the friends are summoned again to the game world, but this time they find the new girl with them. Terrified, she doesn't understand where she is or what's happening around her, even more astonished to find Yosuke there as well. As usual, the game master appears suddenly behind her, startling her and welcoming her. Unfortunately, the girl bursts into tears due to her intense fear. The game master shows the spinning wheel to determine the new girl Yuka's role. They see she's now a fire mage, and the game master informs them that this time the revival period has increased from 30 seconds to 40 seconds. He explains their new mission, then leaves. Yosuke approaches to welcome Yuka, but she's clearly terrified of him, asking who he is and why he kidnapped her. She accuses him of stalking her yesterday, concluding it wasn't a coincidence, believing he followed her intentionally to abduct her. The girls calm her down, asking her to listen, then continue their journey to complete the new mission. Suddenly, a giant monster falls from the sky, appearing as the corpse of a huge insect. Unexpectedly, another monster emerges from within the insect, attacking the friends. They quickly dodge, but sadly, Yosuke and Shindo are struck and killed. Yosuke waits to return to life again, then uses his chef skill to identify the monster's type and abilities. Meanwhile, Yuka excitedly prepares to use her magic. However, as she attacks, she discovers her magic is useless, tragically getting struck by the monster and dying. After Yosuke revives, he understands the monster's attack style and prepares to counterattack, easily blocking its strikes and eliminating smaller insects too. The monster grows furious with Yosuke and attacks him with full force, while the friends are amazed by Yosuke's strength. Yosuke uses his skills to attack the monster, successfully cutting off all its legs, leaving it crawling like a worm. Yosuke asks Kosui to use her sword to finish it off. They grasp the sword together, killing it successfully, increasing both their ranks. In the evening, the friends camp in the forest. Shindo has a bad nightmare, waking up immediately. She sees Yosuke training, who asks if she woke up because of him. Yosuke notices something odd about her and asks why she was crying previously in the recording. Shindo becomes anxious and asks for his help. She then tells him about her past, how as a child she was known as the neighborhood troublemaker, but everything changed when she met an older girl who always helped her. She loved her deeply, but unfortunately Unfortunately, one day this girl jumped from her bedroom window and died, as she found no one to talk to when being bullied. We discover Shindo was always mistreated by senior teachers due to her bullying siblings and parents known for bullying their colleagues. Thankfully, Shindo's friends always defended her against the bad teachers and supported her continuously, teaching Shindo that friends are always her source of strength. Shindo cries, asking Yosuke to support her and show her his strength to overcome this world. At this moment, everyone is awake, sharing the same feeling. In the morning, the friends head to the location of the old village they saved from the giant monster. It is completely destroyed, shocking Yuka with its appearance. Suddenly, a villager passes by, recognizing them as heroes, saying he never expected to see them here. The friends ask the man what happened to the village. He replies he has passed by this village for 5 years until now, and it was always abandoned. Yosuke realizes time in this world moves differently than their real world. Yosuke asks the man if he knows something called Rado. The man takes out a map, indicating their current location and pointing to Rado's location, far away at the other end of the continent. They're shocked by the great distance. The man says they can reach it within 30 days if they travel by horse. If walking it'll take 3 times as long. Shindo asks the man to lend them his horse. He refuses since it's his only source of livelihood, unable even to lend it to the heroes. However, he tells them there's a martial arts competition happening in the town of with 3 horses as the prize. The friends become excited, and the man says goodbye and leaves. The friends decide they must win the competition at any cost to continue their main mission. Yosuke suggests they train more and level up, since they still have time, at least becoming ready for the competition. While walking through the forest, Yosuke senses people watching them among the trees. Suddenly, a group of bandits appear, quickly attacking them. Yosuke strikes one easily, but is penalized by the system because harming humans is prohibited, even in self-defense. Yosuke explains the situation to the team, and they quickly escape. After getting away, they realize Shindo is missing, worrying greatly she might have been captured. However, they disagree on whether to rescue Shindo or continue the mission, eventually bringing everyone home safely with Shindo. Kosui and Yuka decide to rescue Shindo, while Yosuke decides to complete the mission. After some time, the bandits capture Kosui and Yuka too, placing them in the same cell as Shindo. Yosuke figures this out after checking the map. He continues killing ghouls to level up further. The game master reappears, spinning the roll wheel, to reveal Yosuke's new job. This time he becomes a creature mage, whose abilities include raising or lowering creatures' stats. Yosuke then heads to the martial arts competition to fight his first battle, aiming to win the horses and save the girls too. Unfortunately, he dies in his first battle, defeated by the knight Kahavl. When Yosuke revives again, Kahavl approaches him, remarking he's truly revived, just like the rumors say. Yosuke asks her to lend him the 3 horses, explaining he must reach Rado town within the next 35 days. Kahavl is surprised by his words. He explains the town is located at the continent's western border, and promises to do anything she wants if she gives him the horses. She replies she'll lend him the horses if he helps her defeat powerful monsters, wondering where to find these creatures. Yosuke then thinks of a plan to defeat the bandits and rescue his friends, suggesting to Kahavl they eliminate the bandits. Kahavl takes him to the knight's captain in town. Yosuke reports the bandits' location to him. The captain greatly thanks Yosuke but says he unfortunately cannot spare 3 horses, only 1. Yosuke rejoices at finally having hope. Yosuke and Kahavl leave town, and he tells her they must attack the bandits before nightfall. She reassures him they have half a day left, suggesting they practice sword fighting until it's time to attack. She notes Yosuke is still a novice at wielding a sword, offering to help him train if he likes. Yosuke realizes they'll have only 1 horse, meaning he'll likely travel alone to Rado, so training is essential. Yosuke agrees, and they go to train. Kahavl is puzzled when she discovers he can't hold any swords, using a sickle handle as if it's a wooden sword. Kahavl notices Yosuke is physically weak too, instructing him to practice 1,000 sword swings daily. At night, the knights, including Yosuke, prepare to attack and eliminate the bandits. Shortly before sunrise, they reach the bandits' location, quietly defeating them one by one, successfully overcoming the bandits. Suddenly, the bandits release a giant monster from a cage, fleeing immediately. The knights are puzzled by what's happening. Kahavl orders Knight Makwa to take 10 knights to chase the escaping bandits, while Yosuke and the remaining knights prepare with Kahavl to confront the monster. Suddenly, a very dangerous monster called Rampager emerges from the cage. Kahavl explains to Yosuke about this monster, which consumed meat containing more magic than any normal being could handle. The monster grabs a sword, defeating knights in front of it. Kahavl asks Yosuke to retreat, taking responsibility herself. She attacks the monster, which proves extremely powerful, yet continues fighting passionately. Just as the monster is about to defeat Kahavl, Yosuke quickly intervenes, saving her. Unsure how to face the monster, Yosuke uses his persuasion skill to distract the monster, striking and severely injuring it. Kahavl quickly moves, cutting off the monster's head. The knights then search for the remaining bandits. Yosuke frees his friends, and Shindo and the others thank him. Kahavl introduces herself to them, saying she'll take leave and join their journey along with a group of soldiers, on the condition they return her horse upon arrival. She also offers to train the 4 of them in swordsmanship. The friends gladly agree, setting off on their journey toward Rado town. After some time, the friends decide to camp along the road, because the horses must be exhausted from the journey, and the sun is almost setting as well. They sit down to eat afterward, and Yosuke prepares very delicious food, pleasing everyone. However, Kosui has no appetite due to the bandits' killing scene and the blood surrounding her everywhere. Kahavl then approaches, telling them it's now time for sword training. She begins with Yuka first, and Kahavl exhausts her during the training. When it's Kosui's turn, she becomes terrified by Kahavl's overly excited expression, looking eager to chop them up. After training for a while, Kahavl discovers, unfortunately, that Kosui can't hold her sword for extended periods. Suddenly, Kahavl's knights arrive, severely injured after being attacked by Yol while gathering firewood in the forest. Everyone returns in the evening to the camp near the carriage, and Yosuke heals the knight using his newly acquired healing magic skill. Shindo and the others are amazed by Yosuke's ability to use magic. The next day, Kahavl trains with Kosui as usual. Kosui tries harder and harder to protect everyone and gain more experience points to grow stronger. Indeed, with time, she gradually improves more and more. The friends then continue their journey and find a pack of ghouls along the road. The knights ask whether to take another path or face the gulls. Kahavl replies it's better to eliminate the gulls and continue straight since it would undoubtedly save more time. The heroes immediately attack and eliminate the gulls. In the evening, they gather around the fire, eating and preparing to sleep. Yosuke notices everyone's ranks increased significantly, except his rank increased slightly, obviously because his level is far higher than everyone else's. The next morning, everyone prepares to set out again. While traveling, the carriage gets stuck in one of the cracks in the ground. Yosuke steps down from the carriage, helps the knights get the carriage out, and they continue on their way. Suddenly, they encounter a group of monsters attacking soldiers escorting civilians. Kosui insists on rescuing this group, and Yosuke agrees to help. They split into 2 groups. Yosuke and Kosui head out to save the group, instructing the other team to continue ahead. Indeed, the friends struggle for some time but manage to defeat the monsters and help the people. The rescued people thank Yosuke for saving them. Yosuke asks their destination and who they originally are. Their leader replies they're soldiers of Duke Kingdom, transporting these civilians to Rado town by the king's orders. At that moment, Yosuke realizes the cargo they're supposed to deliver to town is actually these people sentenced to execution in their homeland. Yosuke grows increasingly anxious, unsure what to do: kill these soldiers, help the civilians who are the cargo, or find another solution. Suddenly, Kahavl intervenes, telling Duke Kingdom's soldiers commander that she knows the town of Rado isn't under Duke Kingdom's rule, so they have no authority there to act however they please. The commander becomes furious with Kahavl's words, asking her who exactly she is. She replies she's a knight from the kingdom of Kurtnal, remarking his nation is indeed larger, yet he looks no better than ordinary infantry. The commander mockingly smiles, belittling Kahavl's nation, saying her small country has nothing valuable except the trade route passing through it. He introduces himself as Kamilto, a senior soldier in Duke Kingdom, and the commander of this military squad. Kahavl sharply replies that even a large nation's battalion that serves no purpose except war still lost its greatest commander to monsters, asking how he dares speak arrogantly to her. Anger escalates between the two, and they draw their weapons, but Shindo quickly stops them. Yosuke gathers his team, explaining their current situation is that their mission is to deliver cargo to Rado town, and now it appears this cargo is actually these people. Yuka asks if helping the soldiers means completing their mission successfully. He replies yes, but then these people, including the child, will be executed. Everyone becomes anxious, and Yosuke says this could be a test, and the people from the future who chose them may be watching to see their reaction. The bigger problem is they can't attack humans either since it's prohibited. Everyone is astonished by the strange situation they're in. Yuka says they're trapped then, aren't they? He replies he's uncertain, just stating it's possible, but attacking these soldiers now would be extremely risky for them. They keep thinking of a solution until Yuka comes up with an idea, suggesting they accompany them to town and find a way there to stop the execution. Shindo checks if everyone agrees, and indeed, everyone accepts, finally deciding this is their best solution. So, the friends accompany Duke Kingdom soldiers. The soldiers remain wary of Yosuke, his friends, and Kahavl's knights. The commander replies they have no choice but to take them along because they must heal the child before execution, and only the hero Yosuke can treat him. We then see Yosuke healing the boy with his magic. Kosui feels deeply concerned for him. Yosuke reassures her he'll be fine and is gradually responding to treatment. Everyone then stops to rest from their journey. Kahavl remains irritated by the soldiers' commander, puzzled why they listen to someone like him. Shindo explains that they themselves requested to accompany the soldiers, so now they must follow their commands, though Shindo clearly lacks trust in the commander too. Yosuke approaches the commander, requesting permission to allow one civilian to check on the injured child. He allows their elder to come forward. The elder thanks Yosuke for caring for the boy, introducing himself as Fossil, a religious envoy from the continent of Iga. He tells him he wished at least little Belili could survive this persecution, even if all the adults perished. The man explains Duke Kingdom executes anyone who follows a religion different from theirs, even from other countries, meaning they won't escape punishment, even in Rado town. Afterward, Yosuke and his friends sit with the commander, asking why they'd take on such a dangerous mission, just to execute people, in Rado town. The commander replies it's to serve as a harsh lesson for those who might follow later, and since their homeland is Eiga, Rado town is the gateway to that continent, so they must intimidate and stop them there. The next morning, everyone wakes up, and Shindo begins training with Kahavl, who gives Shindo advice on defeating someone stronger swiftly by targeting their weaknesses. We then see Yosuke with the commander, who explains they must now cross this mountain, which will take them 7 days, then another 5 days to reach Rado town. Kosui notes this means they have 12 days to reach the town, with 13 days and 20 hours left to complete their mission. Kahavl asks the commander if the carriages can cross the mountain. He replies it'll be difficult but not impossible. He also suggests an alternative route that would be much faster. Everyone agrees, taking the alternate path and entering a strange tunnel. A soldier activates an odd machine, opening the path through the mountain. Suddenly, the commander and soldiers deceive Yosuke and his friends, escaping and leaving them trapped inside the tunnel. Yosuke feels confused, unsure how they'll escape or what they'll do. However, Kahavl remains confident, saying they'll surely escape from here, then they'll cut off those 3 traitors' heads. Everyone feels encouraged and continues their journey, facing extremely dangerous traps. Each trap has a puzzle they must solve to stop it. Yosuke successfully solves the first puzzle, allowing them to pass the first trap safely. While advancing, Yosuke suddenly falls into the second trap. Kosui quickly thinks of a solution, successfully solves it, and everyone crosses the trap, telling Yosuke they'll wait for him at the exit. We see Yosuke thinking carefully to escape from the trap. Eventually, he manages to dig footholds to climb out. We then see his friends reach the exit, but are shocked to find an arena blocking the path. Suddenly, an extremely powerful and terrifying monster, a gargoyle, appears, and they realize they must defeat it to reach the exit. We return to Yosuke after he successfully makes holes in the walls to escape the trap, but he falls again from a high altitude, dying and waiting 40 seconds to come back to life again. He keeps retrying several times until he finally manages to escape from the trap. Afterward, he uses the map to track down his friends and reach them. On his way, he encounters a checkpoint left by his friends. He touches it, learning about the death of one of Kahavl's knights, Bemsberg, who was also the closest knight to Yosuke on this journey. He also discovers the ones responsible for his death are the soldiers of Duke Kingdom, and witnesses Kahavl swearing vengeance upon them. Yosuke looks ahead and finds the body of Knight Bemsberg, remembering their good times together, feeling deeply saddened about his companion in battle. He bids farewell and continues on his way to rejoin the team. Returning to his friends facing the monster in the battle arena, a swarm of bats attacks them, but they successfully defeat them. Quickly advancing, led by Kahavl, to fight the monster. We see Kahavl extremely excited to engage the monster. Shindo notices the exit key hanging from the monster's arm. However, suddenly, during the battle, the monster stabs Kahavl in her stomach, killing her instantly. Everyone is shocked as Kahavl also falls off the high path they're walking on, drowning in the water below. Everyone becomes frightened of the monster after seeing it kill Kahavl, knowing there's certainly no match for it. The monster approaches Shindo, who becomes terrified, but by chance, she accidentally kills a bat by stepping on it, causing time to pause just before the monster finishes her off. At this moment, she remembers Yosuke's words about changing jobs. Indeed, the game master appears, congratulating her on reaching the 10th level. The job wheel appears, giving Shindo the new role of sword warrior. As soon as time resumes, Shindo fiercely attacks the monster with her sword, but the monster blocks her strike and counterattacks. Shindo fights back with all her strength, barely catching herself before falling from the path. Shindo prepares to fight again, noticing a wound on the monster's body inflicted by Kahavl earlier. She recalls all the instructions Kahavl gave her during sword training. Shindo concentrates deeply, attacking with full strength, but this time the monster cuts off her hand, almost crushing her. She narrowly avoids the attack, swiftly moving around it, finally succeeding in killing it with her sword. We see Yosuke rapidly approaching their location, almost reaching them. He finally reunites with the team, astonished at seeing Shindo defeat this formidable monster. Everyone becomes incredibly happy upon Yosuke's return. Just as a knight starts informing Yosuke about Kahavl falling off the cliff into the water, Yosuke immediately rushes, jumping into the water to save Kahavl. Indeed, he rescues her from drowning and heals her, thankfully saving her life. Afterward, Kahavl regains consciousness, surprised she's still alive and finding her wound completely healed. She learns that Yosuke saved and healed her, having absorbed magic directly from the monster's blood to continue healing her. A knight informs her that Yosuke is now unconscious, exhausted from healing her. Kahavl looks beside her and sees Yosuke sleeping next to her, exhausted and worn out. Everyone is relieved and delighted that Kahavl has fully recovered. In the evening, everyone gathers, and Kosui mentions there are only 7 days and 10 hours left before the mission's deadline. She asks if they'll manage to complete their mission in the remaining time. Yuka replies she doesn't know but hopes for the best. Shindo sits next to Yosuke, uncertain when he'll wake up, when suddenly Yosuke awakens abruptly, startling her. Everyone gathers around, asking about his sudden fright. Yosuke says he was mistaken about the cargo they're meant to deliver, asking them what they think the cargo actually is. Shindo guesses it might be goods. He replies yes, it's something they sell or people want, definitely something worth traveling such a long distance for. He then asks them, what exactly is a village chief? Shindo feels puzzled, replying he means the elder man who assigned their previous mission. Yosuke confirms, explaining the third mission was completing a village chief's request, yet no specific village or person was mentioned. Shindo remains confused, asking what he means. Yosuke asks about Shindo's first mission. She replies it was defeating one goal. He explains that the goals they frequently see are Miri goals, the continent's original inhabitants. He points out there are surely many types of goals, yet her mission didn't specify any particular type to kill. He then asks Kosui about her mission. She says it involved finding settlers. He explains similarly, it wasn't important which settlers she found, merely finding someone was sufficient. He concludes that's exactly his point. The cargo they need to deliver could be anything classified as cargo, allowing them to complete the mission. In other words, the civilians may not actually be the intended cargo as they'd previously assumed. Kosu feels shocked, asking if he's suggesting abandoning the civilians now, explaining that unlike them, if these people die, they'll die forever. Yosuke carefully thinks, replying there's still a chance these civilians indeed are the cargo, so they can't allow them to die, or else they'll also fail their mission. Yosuke continues considering their predicament, until finally deciding they must split into separate teams to solve their current dilemma. Yosuke explains they must split into 2 groups, one to track Duke Kingdom soldiers and rescue civilian prisoners, and another to find a transport carriage heading toward Rado. Since they're unsure exactly what the cargo is, they must pursue all possible leads they encounter. Everyone agrees, but Shindo asks Yosuke exactly how the teams will be divided, who specifically will join each group. He replies they'll split by strength, so he must be on one team and Shindo on the other. However, Kahavl interrupts, stating she'll join the team pursuing Duke Kingdom soldiers to avenge Bemsburg. Yosuke accepts her decision, and thinks carefully about dividing the rest. He designates Team Alpha, Shindo, Kosui, and Knight Makwa, who will search for a transport carriage heading to Rado town. Team Beta will be Yosuke, Yuka, and Kahavl, who'll pursue Duke Kingdom soldiers. Both teams set out on their paths. Team Alpha sticks to the main road, hoping to find a settlement along the way and request to join any cargo carriage heading toward Rado, thus fulfilling their objective. Yosuke also suggests they might encounter a merchant traveling directly to the town, allowing them to achieve their goal without needing settlements. We see Yosuke observing Team Alpha through the map, feeling reassured as they're smoothly advancing. Meanwhile, Yosuke and his group haven't moved yet. Yosuke tells Kahavl they'll depart in the morning to chase Duke Kingdom soldiers. Kahavl replies those soldiers surely don't know they're being followed, since they believe they're still trapped inside the tunnel. She proposes setting up an ambush and suddenly killing them. Yet something still troubles her. Before trapping them, she saw the soldiers sending a message back to their kingdom. She believes it likely stated they'd captured the heroes, and that the heroes would certainly be hostile toward their kingdom. Yosuke acknowledges it's highly likely she's correct. Kahavl further explains another problem: if they kill the soldiers or if they vanish without reason, Duke Kingdom will assume the heroes and Kahavl's nation, the Kingdom of Kahavl, are responsible. Being a militaristic nation, Duke would surely use this as a justification to start a war. Yosuke responds that their current solution is to convince these soldiers to send a message informing Duke Kingdom that the heroes and Kahavl's Kahavl Kingdom aren't their enemies. The issue is they don't know the soldiers' writing codes, their strategy, or their mentality, and they can't force them to write or forge the message. Hence, they must persuade the soldiers to tell the truth willingly. Yuka immediately replies that this seems impossible. Yosuke mentions there's still a chance Duke Kingdom might ignore the message and attack Kahavl anyway. Despite this, he insists they must make these soldiers experience true despair, humiliation, and regret before dying. Suddenly, an idea occurs to Yosuke, a sinister expression appearing on his face, surprising his friends. The next morning, Yosuke and his team catch up with the soldiers, observing them from afar, noticing they're healthy and unharmed. Kahavl asks Yosuke when to attack. He responds she must wait since their location is currently too open, without any obstacles beneficial for an attack. He advises following at a steady distance until the ideal moment arrives. Indeed, they continue tracking them all night. At nightfall, sitting around the fire, Yuka expresses amazement at Yosuke's continuous strategic thinking, jokingly saying he should have been a monster king rather than a hero. Yosuke smiles, replying he's always excelled at deception and tricks due to his continuous gameplay of the Dark Sorrel and Full Bad series. Yuka curiously says she's never played those games, only social interaction games. She then asks about this game world they're in, whether it's virtual reality or something else entirely. Yosuke admits he doesn't know, and they continue chatting until Yosuke eventually goes to sleep, waking Kahavl afterward to take over the watch. Later, we see Duke Kingdom soldiers gathered, discussing their senior officers who died fighting monsters. Their commander mentions that with the death of their officers, only low-ranking officers like himself remain to lead. He repeats their original plan, executing the civilians in Rado town. Suddenly, Yosuke appears, shocking everyone. The commander is astonished at Yosuke's escape from the tunnel, immediately preparing to fight. However, Yosuke calms them, requesting negotiations instead. The commander feels puzzled. Yosuke explains fighting is pointless, reminding them he's a hero who heals any injury within 20 seconds, and revives within 40 seconds if killed. He emphasizes they'll never defeat him. The commander accepts his logic, asking exactly what Yosuke wants to negotiate. Yosuke claims Kahavl's knights died inside the tunnel, and 2 heroines fell into a pit and can't escape, leaving only himself and the glasses, wearing heroine Yuka. He then calls Yuka forward, who joins him. Yuka immediately asks Yosuke why he brought her along despite being the negotiation specialist, confusing the soldiers. Yuka explains Yosuke specializes now because he's converted to the Arterius faith. The soldiers are shocked. Yosuke announces he came to negotiate for his 3 civilian brethren, warning that if they don't hand them over, he'll use his immortality to spread their religion worldwide, not just on this continent, knowing people everywhere would surely listen to a hero. The commander asks Yosuke what guarantees he won't spread their beliefs, even after they surrender the civilians. Yosuke responds they're allowed until sunrise to decide what they'll do, clarifying that if the 3 civilians are harmed or killed, the deal is cancelled. Smiling wickedly, he promises to return tomorrow for their decision, then walks away. We see the soldiers becoming extremely anxious, trying desperately to find a solution to their dilemma. The commander says there's no need to negotiate, arguing they must prevent the hero from spreading this religion, or the campaign they'd planned will backfire. An idea suddenly occurs to him since the heroes don't die permanently. Perhaps trapping or imprisoning them somewhere might work instead. They decide to capture the heroes and lock them up somewhere before the heroes' appointed deadline. Suddenly, they're surprised by Yuka approaching them, saying it's true the heroes don't die permanently. As they begin to argue with her, she silences them, telling them she came secretly, asking them to lower their voices. The commander asks exactly what she wants. She replies she hasn't gotten along with Yosuke from the start. The commander asks asks if she intends to betray him. She tells him they're the only heroes left, and their situation is even worse now. If they're ready to capture him, she'll tell them his location. She asks if they agree. A soldier says they don't trust her. She might intend to free the prisoners once they're away from the carriage. She suggests one soldier accompany her to confirm where he's sleeping. The commander says it's just a waste of time. Soldiers ask for the alternative. The commander decides one soldier will stay behind as a guard, while the rest go with her. If she lies, they'll simply arrest her. They quickly agree to the plan and move out immediately. Yuka feels pleased the trick succeeded. She guides them toward Yosuke's location, but prolongs their route. The commander becomes impatient, asking if it's still far. She replies they'll reach it within 1 more minute of walking. After a short while, he asks again. She replies they're nearly there, just 30 more seconds. Suddenly, a soldier attacks, stabbing her through the heart, killing her instantly. Another soldier then proceeds to check Yosuke's location, but returns shortly, reporting there's nothing ahead. After Yuka revives, they tie her up, taking her along. The commander angrily tells her she lied, promising that once they arrive in Rado, they'll tie her to a massive rock and drown her in the sea. Upon returning to their carriage, they're shocked to find Yosuke standing beside it, having killed all the civilians. He calmly tells them their mission is over, they can now return home. Horrified, the commander says, "You killed them all, even the child." Yuka laughs, revealing everything she'd told them was true except Yosuke adopting the civilians' faith. This was the lie. The commander becomes stunned. Yosuke burns the remaining soldier in the carriage, while Yuka uses her magic to free herself from the soldiers, running quickly to join Yosuke on horseback as they escape. The commander and his remaining soldier chase after them, while Yosuke and Yuka rejoice that their plan succeeded perfectly. We learn this entire scenario was Yosuke's scheme. After the commander and soldier left with Yuka, Yosuke stealthily approached the soldier guarding the carriage, knocking him unconscious. He then asked the civilians to quickly exchange clothes with the soldier, allowing them to escape secretly. Yosuke tells Yuka the soldiers will now report to their kingdom that Cardinal's knights died, and the heroes ruined their plan, thus preserving the current relations between Duke and Cardinal kingdoms. Meanwhile, the commander and soldier anxiously pursue Yosuke and Yuka, worried about how they'll face King Duke after everything that's happened. The scene shifts to Shindo's team resting by the roadside. Shindo feels uneasy since 3 days have passed without encountering any carriages or settlements. Knight Makwa reassures her that, by following the main road, they'll eventually find a settlement, and, once there, likely meet a merchant. Kosu responds this still doesn't guarantee finding cargo specifically headed to Rado town. Shindo anxiously says only 4 days and 3 hours remain, hoping everything's going well with Yosuke. Yosuke and Yuka soon reach a high cliff overlooking a cave below. Upon entering, the 3 civilians warmly greet Yosuke. Yuka becomes delighted to see the child has regained consciousness as well, and the child thanks them sincerely for saving him. Time rewinds briefly to when Yosuke first explained his plan to Kahavl and Yuka, that they'd need 3 dummies for the plan to succeed, adding they'd use 1 real human among the 3 to make their scenario convincing. Everyone agreed, preparing immediately to carry it out. However, Yuka worriedly asked Yosuke if they'd actually be killing a real person, wondering if he'd ever done something like this before. He reassured her they wouldn't truly kill anyone, explaining all this was necessary for completing their mission and preventing war. We return again to the soldiers, who have already sent a message to the king of Duke Kingdom, exactly as Yosuke wanted. Suddenly, Kahavl appears and immediately kills the remaining soldier beside the commander, telling him, "If you're worried about the king punishing you, don't worry, I'll punish you myself." The commander is shocked that Kahavl is still alive. Kahavl says, "Draw your sword quickly and face me." The commander rushes to the carriage, grabs his sword, and attacks Kahavl with all his strength. Kahavl reveals to him that the 3 civilians are still alive, and the burned corpse was actually his fellow soldier. This enrages the commander further, causing him to attack furiously. At that moment, Kahavl swiftly moves, slicing off his weapon and right arm, followed by his limbs one after another. He finally collapses helplessly on the ground, screaming in pain, completely unable to move. Kahavl draws her long, sharp sword, cleanly severing his head. At that moment, Kahavl feels relief, having finally avenged her friend who was killed. At the same time, the soldier's message reaches Duke Kingdom, and the king is informed of the mission's failure. The envoy asks if the king should send reinforcements to rescue the 3 soldiers. The king replies it's unnecessary, given only 2 survived anyway. The envoy compliments the king's wisdom, but adds the problem now is that heroes, who were supposed to remain neutral among humans, have unfortunately become their enemies. The king asks, "You mean we'll have to fight the heroes?" The envoy replies exactly, emphasizing it's no longer merely about fighting Commander Kamilto. They must prepare for the worst-case scenario. The king immediately orders the envoy to quickly find a way to kill the heroes. We return again to Yosuke with Kahavl and Yuka. Yosuke mentions the plan went well, but unfortunately, they still don't know exactly what was written in the message, so they can't confirm if they've succeeded. Yuka agrees but adds they're likely successful since they saved the 3 civilians. However, their main problem now is their distant destination. Yosuke then tells Yuka regarding the cargo they must deliver to Rado town. There are 3 possibilities he wants to test. Yuka feels confused and notices on the map that Shindo's team hasn't moved either. We see Shindo's team after they reach a town along the road. They ask a merchant in the town if he has goods he wants delivered to Rado town. Unfortunately, he says he doesn't have any. They thank him and continue searching for another merchant but fail to find any more shops or merchants nearby. At this moment, they start considering a solution. Kosui suddenly comes up with an idea, asking Knight Makwa about something that might help solve their current problem. Returning to Yosuke, he's loading some goods into the carriage. Yuka asks him if they'll actually bring these items with them. He says yes, explaining this cargo might be exactly what's required. They then set off toward the town. Along the way, Kahavl notices Yuka seems bothered, but Yuka reassures her she's fine, and they continue onward. After some time they rest briefly so the horses can recover. Kahavl feels sad, knowing she'll soon have to say goodbye to Yosuke after the journey ends. Soon, they mount the horses again and resume their mission. Returning to Shindo's team, they've followed Kozui's idea, contacting delivery companies responsible for transporting goods, as surely such companies exist even in this world. Knight Makwa mentions that shipment deliveries are scheduled for today this month, meaning they'll surely find something to accompany. Indeed, standing by the road, they soon spot a carriage approaching. They eagerly ask the merchant if his carriage is heading toward Radodobo. He confirms it is, and they're thrilled they've finally found suitable cargo. They ask if they can accompany him to town. He replies he doesn't mind, but he already has an escort. Suddenly, the escort steps forward, warning them whether they're heroes or not, he won't allow them to compete against his livelihood. Shindo firmly replies they won't back down either since their lives depend on this mission. The adventurer immediately draws his sword, attacking Shindo fiercely. Shindo quickly draws her sword too, swiftly defeating him. She asks him sarcastically if he still feels the same way. We see Yosuke's team camping in the forest for the night. The next morning, Shindo's team departs alongside the carriage and adventurer, heading to town. Meanwhile, Yosuke reviews his plan with Yuka. He explains once they arrive in town, they'll have 3 possible cargoes. First are the civilians, and delivering them to the temple should successfully complete the mission. They indeed deliver the civilians, but unfortunately, the mission doesn't complete. Yosuke then proceeds with the second cargo, the soldiers' personal belongings they took from the carriage. They sell these items to merchants, but sadly, this too isn't the required cargo. Finally, we realize the third cargo might be what's needed. We then see Shindo's team traveling nervously, worried their arrangement with the delivery man might fail as suitable cargo. Suddenly, the system notifies them their mission is complete, surprising Kosui and Shindo. We return to Yuka and Yosuke as they deliver their unusual third cargo. Yuka confidently tells Yosuke this must be the correct cargo, meaning they've succeeded. Soldiers open the boxes to confirm the cargo. We discover this cargo contains evidence of Duke Kingdom's soldiers engaging in illegal activities. In fact, it's the soldiers' severed heads. Yosuke's team leaves the military building. Pleased they've successfully finished their mission, they immediately meet up with Shindo's team, happily reunited. Now, the only remaining task is expanding their map coverage area, and there's still a full day left. Just as Yosuke begins explaining the plan, everyone immediately responds they must quickly split up to cover the largest possible area. Everyone quickly splits up, each taking a different path, exploring the area and enjoying themselves greatly. Meanwhile, Kahavl sits in the house waiting for the friends to return, telling Makwa they'll delay returning home for a few more days. Makwa agrees since villagers mentioned the weather would be stormy these next few days, especially at night. Makwa hopes the heroes will stay safe outside during this harsh weather. They're especially worried about Yosuke, as he's the only one who went into the mountains, and everyone warned that conditions would be extremely harsh there. Kahavl sits anxiously, deeply worried about him. Time shifts back to the moment when Kahavl said goodbye to Yosuke before he left for the mission. Yosuke was near the house where Kahavl stayed. She went straight to him, spending time together watching the sunset. She asked, "You're leaving tomorrow, aren't you?" He replied, "Only after we complete the mission." She said sadly, "So we'll soon part ways here?" And he replied, "Yes, unfortunately." They shook hands, said farewell, and Yosuke departed to complete the mission. Returning to the present, they decided to rest a bit before returning home. Yosuke, currently in the mountains, struggles struggles severely, hiding behind a rock to avoid snowstorms, desperately searching his inventory for clothing to shield himself from the extreme cold. Using every garment he has, he continues onward, his condition worsening with every step. Yosuke fears he might freeze to death, unable to revive again, deciding to exercise continuously while moving to raise his body temperature, hoping this strategy will succeed. Elsewhere, Yuka also struggles, surrounded by heavy snow, fighting hard against the harsh weather, becoming severely frozen, unsure what to do. She continues pushing forward with difficulty, the same struggle faced by Kosui and Shindo, everyone fighting desperately. Unfortunately, Kosui reaches her breaking point, collapsing exhausted on the ground. She tries desperately to resist, crying fearfully at the thought of dying there, but eventually loses consciousness. Meanwhile, Shindo sees something strange ahead, collapsing from shock, screaming in anger. Yosuke, anxiously monitoring everyone on his map, notices no one else has moved for a long while, worrying greatly. He says he can't blame anyone since aside from him and Shindo, no one could handle this harshness alone. Kosui and Yuka lacked proper equipment, and this outcome was predictable from the start. He notes only 10 kilometers remain to complete the mission, pondering if he can finish within just 6 hours, continuing to push forward to save himself and his friends. However, his legs become increasingly painful due to constant exercise. Yosuke believes everyone will survive if just one of them successfully completes the mission. Yet, if he also loses consciousness, the mission would fail completely, resulting in permanent death. Everyone else has given up, no longer having the strength to move forward, making Yosuke their last hope for returning safely to their world. He considers digging a trench and staying sheltered until the storm passes, but unfortunately, that won't work because only around 6 hours remain. Yosuke keeps advancing, suddenly hearing a strange noise behind him. Turning around, he's shocked by the appearance of a massive one-eyed snow monster charging furiously toward him. Yosuke tries escaping, pulling out his knife, preparing to fight. He successfully dodges, circling around the monster, stabbing its leg with full force. The monster grows enraged, and Yosuke feels the mission is becoming impossible. Nonetheless, he continues fighting, blocking attacks, using his cooking skill to spot the monster's vital organs. Yosuke attacks relentlessly, finally defeating it. However, as the monster dies, several monster offspring emerge from a cave, leaving Yosuke unsure whether to feel joy for defeating the monster or sadness for these children. Watching them cry for their parent, Yosuke worries they'll die of starvation and cold if he abandons them, but decides this isn't his concern, merely a virtual world. He leaves them behind and moves on. After some time, he checks his map, realizing only 5 hours remain. Remembering his friends' suffering, he becomes even more determined to save them all, pressing forward to complete the mission. Suddenly, Yosuke falls into a deep underground tunnel, terrified he'll die, causing everyone to permanently perish in this world. He plummets from an enormous height, ultimately dying as well. The scene then shifts to Yuka, overwhelmed by despair, recalling her dream of becoming a superhero like manga heroes. Meanwhile, we see Yosuke, who manages to revive after 40 seconds, shocked at what happened and how he came back to life, realizing one of his friends must still be alive. He stands up to continue his mission but finds himself in a very strange place with weird inscriptions surrounding him, quickly realizing he's inside a secret dungeon. Motivated, he moves forward, noticing monster skeletons scattered everywhere. Continuing until he reaches a large hall with several corridors, he examines the map, concluding that if he keeps advancing through this dungeon, he'll surely complete the mission. Returning to Kosui, she desperately tries to awaken herself from death but fails due to her frozen body. Meanwhile, Shindo regains consciousness. Shocked to see Kosui dead, she decides to urgently complete the mission herself so they can safely return home. After some time, Shindo spots a village nearby, considering borrowing something like a cart or sled to speed up her progress. Unfortunately, she unknowingly walks onto a frozen lake. As she rushes forward, the ice beneath begins cracking without her noticing, eventually breaking completely, plunging her into the icy water, where she too dies. Back to Yosuke, encountering a dead end, he realizes Shindo has also died, losing the big hope he placed on her assistance. He searches for another route but finds another dead end, then another, becoming increasingly frustrated. Suddenly, an earthquake shakes the ground, and a giant worm monster emerges beneath him. The giant worm moves past him, continuing underground. Yosuke seizes the chance, following it into the tunnels it creates, irritated by its painfully slow progress. Suddenly, another fierce worm appears behind Yosuke, intent on devouring him. We then see Yuka continuing forward, surprised to find only herself and Yosuke still alive. She wonders how they could possibly complete this mission alone. Suddenly, she sees that Yosuke has died too, collapsing to the ground in shock, overcome by fear. Yet, she gathers her courage, standing determinedly, pressing onward, using her heat magic to keep moving. On the way, she encounters a mysterious girl riding a giant cat. The girl asks if Yuka is a player, offering her a ride if she wants. Yuka is stunned but quickly accepts, riding the cat as they speed onward. Yuka tells the girl she's a player in the game's 4th stage and that snow has severely hindered her progress in her current mission. The girl asks where she's heading. Yuka checks the map, becoming tense as she sees the time is almost up. The girl asks if she's in a hurry, and Yuka tearfully nods. Understanding the urgency, the girl tells Yuka to hold tight, accelerating their speed using magic, traveling incredibly fast. Amazed, Yuka asks if she's a player too. The girl says no, she's merely a magic user. Yuka checks the map again, finally seeing hope and desperately wishing they complete the mission in time. Indeed, they cover the required distance within the remaining time, successfully completing the mission. We then see Shindo, Yosuke, and Kosui revived in an unfamiliar place. Shindo feels bewildered, not understanding what happened, asking who completed the mission. They're stunned to discover Yuka accomplished it. Suddenly, the game master appears, congratulating them for completing the mission, allowing Yuka to ask him any single question she desires. Irritated, Yuka angrily asks why only one question after all this effort. The game master asks if that's her question. She quickly replies no, needing a moment to think carefully. Finally, she asks whether this world is virtual or real. He replies that this is one of the parallel worlds, explaining clearly what parallel worlds are through simple examples. Yosuke and his friends become convinced, understanding the world they were in was actually part of reality, not virtual, and all creatures and moments experienced there were genuinely real. At that moment, Yosuke feels horrified upon learning this world and its people were entirely real, not virtual reality, suddenly remembering how he burned that soldier alive and realizing he truly killed an actual human being. The friends then return to their world, and Yosuke remains shocked about what happened. Realizing he killed a real human, he stays in a state of panic and distress constantly, feeling deep pain in his heart all the time. The next morning, Yosuke goes to school and plays basketball with his friends, skillfully advancing without passing the ball, scoring his first goal. Everyone is surprised by his skills, wondering if he was always this amazing. Meanwhile, Kosui and Shindo play volleyball too. Shindo tells Kosui it's amazing she's participating now after being unable due to her illness. Kosui replies it's because her fitness greatly improved recently. They understand this is related to their experiences in the parallel world. They're worried about Yosuke, and Shindo says she hasn't spoken to him at all since returning from the parallel world. We go back to the moment when the team was with the game master, and Shindo asks Yuka what happened with Yosuke. Yuka explains he had to kill one of the soldiers to save the 3 civilians. Yosuke remains distracted, walking home alone, reflecting on how he was the only one who actually killed someone in the parallel world, recalling all the sadness he experienced since childhood until now. Suddenly, he receives a message from the game master. It's a solo mission, specifically for him again. Opening it, he sees a question asking about his true feelings after killing someone for the first time. Shocked, Yosuke immediately deletes the message, returning home overwhelmed by sadness and anger, questioning whether even the killing was also planned by the game master. Yet he tells himself it was his own decision, continuously lost in thought. Suddenly, a little girl appears before him, welcoming him. Startled, he asks her who she is. She replies, "Why aren't you responding to my message?" Confused, Yosuke asks what message. Then he questions whether she's the game master or someone else from the future. She responds strangely, "You don't have the right to ask," making him realize she's indeed the game master. Yosuke then sits down with her, sharing everything he's feeling, telling her part of him thinks he was right, because they were villains who would have killed innocent people, already killed his friend, and imprisoned them. Unfortunately, the other half believes they did all that thinking it was right. The girl interrupts, asking again about her original question. He finally replies that killing that man was a mistake, and he'd never have killed him if he'd known the truth. She accepts his answer, promising she'll introduce him to the new player joining them. Surprised, Yosuke asks if she's serious. She replies there's someone she'd like him to meet. Curious, Yosuke asks first about the instructions regarding approaching Yuka she mentioned in the last mission. She reminds him, "I've already told you. You don't have the right to ask." She then asks if he'll meet the new player or not. Yosuke agrees. She gives him a hat, and together they head to the new player's location. Arriving at a restaurant, Yosuke wonders what they're doing here, asking why they're in a Chinese restaurant. She points out a man sitting at a table, telling Yosuke this man was a drug dealer some time ago. In exactly 20 seconds, the new player will enter the restaurant to kill that man. Shocked, Yosuke listens as the girl explains someone tricked the new player into believing he wouldn't be caught if he killed that man. Time Time quickly passes and the girl tells Yosuke the new player's name is Tori Kita, 19-year-old, whose younger brother Shoji, aged 14, is also involved in this plan, meaning his brother is the same age as Yosuke. Suddenly, masked individuals burst into the restaurant attacking the man, but Yosuke quickly trips one of them, knocking him down. Angry, Yosuke shouts at him that killing is wrong. Yosuke tries to stop them, grabbing the fallen man's stick, blocking their attacks, swiftly beating them to surrender. He identifies Kita and his brother, removing Kita's mask, telling him their target already escaped, making their attempt meaningless. He urges Kita to escape with his brother before police arrive, but Kita angrily tells him to get out of the way, determined to kill the man. Yosuke firmly stops him, but Kita argues, he's a drug dealer, who would care if he died? Kita asks why Yosuke protects him. Yosuke replies he doesn't care about the dealer, he's protecting Kita himself, not letting him become a killer. The fight continues until the man who deceived Kita enters, angry at Yosuke, accusing him of working with the Kodangami gang. Yosuke denies it firmly. The man raises a gun toward Yosuke, threatening to shoot. Yosuke and Kita freeze. Suddenly, the girl appears again, calling out to Yosuke. The man is confused seeing a little girl there. The girl hands Yosuke his magical glove from the parallel world, asking if he wants to use it. Surprised, Yosuke grabs the glove quickly before being shot, using its magical power to overpower the man, stopping time, rapidly attacking and severely injuring the man's face. Kita watches in astonishment. As the police arrive, Kita quickly grabs his brother, escaping with Yosuke to avoid arrest. After safely escaping, Yosuke meets the girl again, asking if the mission is complete and if he can finally go home. She replies, wait, let's talk first. She tells him, today you stopped a murder. Now, tell me, how do you feel about killing that man in the parallel world? Yosuke responds, I don't know, but now I feel like I understand clearly what I want to do. He asks her if Kita and his brother had been arrested, would that have reduced their chance of success in the upcoming mission? He recalls her previous words, realizing why she told him before rescuing Yuka last time, that success or failure in rescuing her would affect their next mission in the parallel world.